name's Rebecca from Wright Art Studio. First of all, I'd just like to thank Doncaster Council for sponsoring this project. Today I'll be telling you a bit about Romanticism, which is an art movement. So Romanticism was one of the most important historical events of all time. It wasn't a war or a political event, but it was a birth of new ideas, where a new mindset and feeling was created. When you think about Romanticism, you may imagine Cupid or a declaration of love, but it's less to do with romance and more to do with passion, sensitivity and imagination. Romanticism began in Western Europe in the 18th century with artists, poets and philosophers, and then spread all over the world and flourished into the mid-19th century. It was a reaction to industrialization and detached rationalism, and instead Romanticism focused on creative expression and spiritual connection. The Romantics rejected rationalization to explore heightened emotion, and they wanted to put the spotlight back onto a person's imagination and their interpretation of the world. For Romantic artists, this new emphasis on emotion meant they could move away from restraint found in the neoclassical period. They started to create passionate responses to nature and society through their artwork in both a terrifying and beautiful way. So the first artist I'd like to talk about is David Friedrich, who created the iconic painting Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. The painting shows a man wearing a dark green overcoat and boots looking over a cloudy landscape, steadying himself with a cane. Mounted on a dark, craggy rock face, the figure stands at the centre of distant, converging plains. You can see how the midpoint of the painting rests at the man's chest. This shows that the heart is the centre of the universe, which is central to Romanticism. One of the main themes of this movement was an emphasis of the power of nature, which Friedrich exemplified as he placed one man gazing at a vast and unknowable territory in the middle of his canvas. Wild and uncontrollable nature was a major subject with many Romantic artists, with many displaying an individual among it, so the spectator could feel their strong emotions. The next artist was called Francisco de Goya. He was a Spanish artist from Madrid and produced one of the most iconic images, The Dream of Reason Produces Monsters. The painting demonstrates the power of the irrational over humans' fragile minds. Many say that the man in the painting is Goya himself, asleep in the middle of drawing, surrounded by a swarm of strange flying creatures. These are the monsters of the title, which invade the mind when reason is surrendered to imagination and dreams. The nightmare is said to represent the artist's views of Spanish society, which he portrayed as demented and corrupt, with the owls symbolising foolishness and the bats symbolising ignorance. Central to Goya's work is the quest to explore one's internal life and national history. One of his best-known works, titled Execution of the Defenders of Madrid, 3rd of May 1808, symbolises the Romantic style at its core. In this work, Goya takes a passionate stance against the horror of war by vividly showing the struggle for independence. Now I'd like to talk about an English Romantic painter, John Martin. He created many breathtaking paintings during the Romantic period. One of my favourite pieces is called Manfred and the Alpine Witch. The painting demonstrates many of the essential themes to Romanticism, including beauty, the supernatural, nature, and a Byronic hero. The scene shows astonishing beauty which is infused with the supernatural. As I mentioned before, the Byronic hero is an important part of this painting and quite common in paintings from this era. You can see many Byronic heroes in Romanticism art, as with The Wanderer by Friedrich. The character is typically wandering or showing searching behaviour, but can be cynical and self-destructive. They're normally a complex individual who often work against societal norms. William Blake, another central figure of 19th century British art, had his own romantic visions, quite literally. In The Ghost of a Flea, Blake paints a strange animal-human hybrid that is said to have come to the artist in a spiritual vision. This figure is the soul of a man, but because of its bloodthirstiness, this soul has been condemned to reside in the body of a flea. Painted thickly with golden tempera, this fantastical being is at once familiar and strange. A poet as well as a painter, Blake was a prime example of the romantic artist, believing in the power of the imagination and the ability of art to convey profound ideas and emotions. The last artist I'd like to talk about was Henry Fuseli. Fuseli's strange painting shows a ravished woman draped across a sofa with a small hairy demon sitting on top of her, staring out menacingly at the viewer. A mysterious black horse with white eyes and flaring nostrils appears behind her, entering the scene through lush red curtains. We seem to be looking at the effects and the contents of the woman's dream at the same time. Fuseli's ghastly scene was the first of its kind in the midst of the Age of Reason, and Fuseli's became something of a traditional figure. Fuseli held many of the same beliefs as the neoclassicists with the idealized interpretation of the woman, but he wanted to explore the dark elements of human psychology when most were concerned with the scientific exploration of the objective world. When shown in 1782 at London's Royal Academy exhibition, the painting shocked and frightened visitors. Unlike the paintings the public was used to seeing, Fuseli's subject matter was not drawn from history or the Bible. This new subject matter would have a variety of repercussions in the art world. Even though the woman is immersed in a bright light, Fuseli's composition suggests that light is unable to overcome the darker realms of the human mind. The relationship between the horse, the demon, and the woman remains suggestive and not explicit, heightening the terrifying possibilities. Fuseli's combination of horror, sexuality, and death ensured that the painting was a defining example of Gothic horror, which inspired such writers as Mary Shelley and Edgar Allan Poe. The Romantic movement has permanently changed our sensibilities as the world is forever growing more technological and rational. Romanticism fights for the irrational, the unexplainable, the exotic, and the naive. Today, Romanticism can be found in a wide variety of films, television, literature, music, and art. In the art world, Romanticism provided a new way for us to interact with painting, to not only capture the depth of the human experience, but to capture this humanity with intensity of colour and form. Contemporary Russian artist Anna Rebovskaya manages to capture the romantic style of Renaissance portraiture in her own modern way. As an artistic movement with emphasis on expressing emotion, the subject matter in paintings from Romanticism varied to include landscapes, religion, and portraiture, but the brushstrokes remained loose and expressive. Similarly, with Rebovskaya's vibrant paintings, beautifully depict the graceful elegance of the female form and celebrate modern freedom. I always try to incorporate Romanticism into my own work when I can, with an emphasis on nature and instigating a feeling or emotion among the viewers. I believe that this connection with the viewer allows the painting to have a stronger impact and a sense of purpose. I also love to show nature within my work and how powerful it can be. Most romantics believed that humans were born pure and good, and it was society that would corrupt you. But nature became a symbol of life without society. I hope you enjoyed watching this video today, and I hope you learnt a little bit more about Romanticism. I'd also like to say a big thank you to Doncaster Council for sponsoring all of these videos. I can't wait to watch the other ones as well. I think they're going to be absolutely amazing, and I hope to learn lots of things about different art movements too. Also, if you are an artist, please check out the Fringe. They do lots of different things for artists, and also Doncaster Art Fair, who promote and sell other artists' artwork too. I do painting classes myself too, and these are for beginners to advanced, so if you'd like to come along to one of them when everything returns to normality, I hope to see you there. Thank you.